Radu Miruță, Minister of Defense, Government of Romania. Welcome, Minister.
So thank you for inviting me here, and congratulations for organizing such an event here in Bucharest. As so many things are happening around the region, our activity inside Minister of Defense is very intensively. Things are still going in Ukraine, new things are happening in Iran, and all these things are influencing not only the cost of life, but are influencing the decisions we are analyzing inside NATO, inside the European Union, and inside Minister of Defense. We cannot discuss about a safe environment for businesses without being able to assure a safe environment, without being able to guarantee that no investment is affected by what is happening in Ukraine or in Iran. And given this context, we just approved the budget for the Minister of Defense, where this year 40% of our entire budget is allocated for new investments. In the same time, we are running 21 projects around SAFE. 11 of these projects are individual acquisitions, but 10 of them are common acquisitions. Things are also happening around the Black Sea, so we are contributing in order to secure the eastern flank. We are discussing with our allies in order to understand what we could do better in order to increase the efficiency. In fact, there are some issues. We are discussing about United European segment, but in the same time, the acquisitions for the defense ministries are still fragmented. We cannot discuss about 27 individual solutions for only one military problem. From that perspective, it's a huge challenge for the European countries in order to duplicate our acquisitions, in order to understand what we should do individually in order to contribute for the entire eastern flank. And this is an ongoing discussion. The good thing is that we have the capability to demonstrate that attacking a NATO territory is not a good option. And the capacity to discourage the others is the most important aspect we are working on. And we can do this by increasing the investments, we can do this by having common acquisitions, and we can do this by entertaining non-stop dialogue in between the Minister of Defense. This is what we are doing, and from that perspective, the NATO territory, the European territory, and the Romanian territory, it's an 100% safe territory.
What the government can do really, both in terms of the defense and energy sector, building those partnerships.
By creating joint venture as soon as possible in between the government companies and the private sector. This wasn't done at the normal potential before. And I started to do this since I was the Minister of Economy, where it was a joint venture between Pirochin Victoria and Rheinmetall for a powder factory, where it was for the first time when we introduced in the contract as a mandatory condition to interact with the local supply chain. And this is something we should do for all the contracts. Regarding the other requirements, at the European level, at the NATO level, everybody is discussing about a way to increase the production as soon as possible. And we found out that the private companies reach a limit in terms of delivering a product in a very short period of time. So we should do more. And what can be done more from my perspective is to take into account the partial capabilities that are already existing in Romania. We have a national defense industry where technology is not yet present in all of the corners, but there are some parameters that are necessary, like warehouses, like bunkers, like environment permits that are mandatory for a new factory, like strategic positions for producing ammunition. And at the European level, and this is something I already asked for Commissar Kubilius, is to create a mapping in between what is partially existing and what is which are the necessities for the private sector in order to create a map. Maybe a new factory cannot be done in a very short period of time, but maybe a private investor is interested to use what is already in place in order to speed up the production. And we are discussing this inside the Minister of Defense and inside the Minister of Economy regarding the ongoing projects we will sign as new acquisition in the next period, in the very short period of time. We are interacting with the private sector in order to ask for localization. Asking for localization is something that is generating two main benefits. The first one is to interact with the local economy, and maybe before this one, it's a strategic situation for the Minister of Defense to have production in Romania. And we understand that for having production in Romania, for a factory to be moved in Romania, an additional price is to be paid. And we are taking into consideration this additional price, but it's very clear for me, we won't pay artificial prices just because we are asking for localization. We started discussion, and this is something new that I'm going to announce. When we started the discussions around SAFE, there were some private ammunition producers that announced a price. Now, when we are going to sign the contracts, they come back to us with about 30% additional. Then that 30% additional is in addition to what they announced by their own initially. We won't accept this. So we need to be fair. We are very interested to involve the private sector, but the private sector cannot push us to accept higher prices just because we have to sign the contracts by the end of May 2031. It's very important for us to interact with them. We are very fair and very transparent. I checked, and this is for the first time when all the projects are published on the Minister of Defense websites with all the criteria, all the prices, all the requested units, all the localization requirements. So everything is transparent. The private sector is knowing all the requirements. We are interacting with them. We are open to answer to all of the questions, but we need to see a transparent way from their perspective as well.
Thank you. Can I just ask one question also, just hasn't really been raised so far, just about cybersecurity and where Romania stands in this sense, because obviously this is highly relevant, especially for the energy sector. You know, since the start of the war in Ukraine, this is what is being targeted in Ukraine, in Moldova, elsewhere. And now we see Iranian operatives being pretty active in launching a whole series of cyber attacks. Yeah, Albania is one country that's been hit, you know, its institutions in recent weeks. So where does Romania stand in terms of its cybersecurity defenses? Obviously, it's a matter for the private sector as well, not just for government, but just to...
So if we are discussing about cybersecurity, we cannot discuss only from the Minister of Defense perspective, because there are many institutions that can be attacked, and we are observing each day more than 10,000 attacks against our institutions. Inside Minister of Defense, we have a specialized, dedicated team who is taking care about our systems, and we are contributing to the others as well. So there are several institutions in Romania which are taking care about this threat. But from my perspective, and I think it's something we should address in a very clear way, that disinformation consequence creates a lot of troubles. And at the European level, we should very clear address that disinformation. So the discussion is not only around cyber attacks, the discussion should be also around the way the digital transformation is used in order to introduce fake news, in order to influence the perceptions about national very important aspects. And as a software engineer, I'm always saying that against algorithms, the only way to fight is also with the algorithms.